welcome to another show of Don't Get This Twisted. I am Rob, along with my co-host as always, Tina. How you doing, Tina?
I'm good, Rob. It's been a long day, but I'm doing all right. How are you?
It's a tad wet outside.
This freaking weather was no fun today.
Yeah,
Every time I wanted to go out, I was getting severely rained on.
It was, this morning, my ride to work was very dangerous. It was really bad. It was not fun. Thankfully, my ride home was like misty and easy.
Oh, nice. I had to take my dad at 6:00 this morning to have a procedure done, and it poured on us, and the water was to the middle of the street. When you step down off the curb, you were soaked. So that was the beginning of my day before it was even light enough to see the water. It was a pretty freaking heavy rain day.
Where you're at, the sewer system is absolute dog shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good. Where I'm at, there are parts of the street that are not very good, similar to where you're at. Like there were some streets, if you were in the number 2 lane or closest to the curb, it was about 4.5 feet to 5 feet out. So you were, and then I was on the freeway this morning in the number 1 lane, and a lot of parts was underwater. So I kind of went to the middle of the freeway and was like, I'm in no hurry to get to work.
And I still have my broken bone in my foot that's been, it's been since before Christmas. It's not healed all the way. So trying to walk in the rain was not easy. It's been, I'm ready for my foot to be better, and I'm ready for my back to not be out because, the foot and walking differently has now pulled my back out. So I'm having a good time. This shit of getting old is not for the weak. It's for the birds.
That is very true. It makes you want to go.
The birds.
Yeah.
And when it rains, it pours, literally. So,
it does. It makes you want to go.
Life is right now.
Yes, very much so. Yeah. So today we're going to talk the prison system because
and their rights being in the prison system.
Yes, their rights
what was that?
In the prison system. That was the wrong answer. The wrong answer button. I was hitting something to check on it. So we kind of talked off air, and I'm going to let you kind of detail it real quick because we can kind of catch up, and then we'll talk about exactly how bad things are on the inside and out. Go.
Yeah. I have a friend whose husband is in prison for a very long time for acts against children. And, I watched this poor woman try to keep her house and try to, pay her bills and try to do everything that she needs to do, because even though he went through this and he got incarcerated, there's still bills that need to get paid. There's still things that need to, she still needs to keep everything together. And not that she wants to be with him. I think she's afraid a little bit. So that's why she continues to be with him, knowing that he's not going to get out of prison anytime soon. But she's just trying to keep things together and keep everything copacetic so that she could live, because his rights as her husband will literally screw her over, even though she's the one for the last, I don't even know, about 10 years that's had to keep it together, pay all the house note and the bills and everything. And all he's done is just tried to torture her for his wrongdoings. And I was talking to her about it, and it really pisses me off that he has all these rights. He's in the best shape of his life because all he does is work out. He is privileged to any book that he wants and schooling. So he's often doing that sort of stuff. And it seems like, he left her with not only the embarrassment of the things that he did, right, but also, the people that took his side over hers in it, that were family members from him being so, he's just a liar. He's a liar and he's a manipulator and he's good at schmoozing people, which, we know a lot of criminals like that are. And here she's stuck holding the bag. And it just, I was so aggravated the other day in talking to her because I feel so bad. There's really nothing that could be done for her. She needs to get a lawyer. She needs to divorce him. But in doing so, he's going to get like 50% of everything, even though he probably won't ever get out of prison, even though he hasn't done anything to take care of it in over 10 years. I was thinking about all the rights that prisoners have. And I'm sorry, but I think it's kind of bullshit. I don't think it's kind of bullshit. I think it's really bullshit. Like who do they think they are that they could live so horribly and do things that they did, and yet they have more rights than the people that are left behind? So
for sure.
That
and
was
live better.
And live better. Yeah. Like he's got nothing but time to do whatever he wants, and he's fully taken care of, and he doesn't even have to make his meals. He just, I don't know, unless he wants to do some of their crazy recipes they do in a microwave, because I guess you could have a microwave, but
which is a whole other. You can have a microwave and a TV,
right? Yeah,
there are people right now that don't have that are struggling in life.
Yes, and a lot of them get phones inside. Not that they're supposed to have them, but they have them. They get free medical. I'm so frustrated with the system right now because here I'm watching TV. Just today with my father, we're watching the news, and they're going to start after being caught 3 times, on the 3rd time of doing the smash and grab robberies like they're doing all over California right now, then they're going to press charges. The 3rd time. Are you freaking kidding me? There's these stupid ass people that are going in a big mob, scaring the shit out of everybody, just vandalizing the hell out of everything that they can and steal it. And they're going to not have anything to worry about until it's the 3rd time of getting caught. Not the 3rd time of doing it, the 3rd time of getting caught.
Yeah.
So I've got some issues with our criminal systems right now. Excuse me?
There's a way to fix it.
Yeah, everybody should have a gun.
I mean, I would never say to do that.
I was never Republican. Okay. I always was probably more liberal, but even liberals getting it's just too freaking much. These people are getting away with too much. And the liberalness of life right now is so, people that are really liberal just seem so weak titty to me. And I don't know how else to say that, but
yeah, I think it's more progressiveness. The liberal is now more.
It's not progressive.
Well, that's what they call it. The more liberal, or what we would consider liberals from like the 60s and 70s, are really more like the middle ground now. Instead of being liberal. The left, it is out of their minds. I mean, they don't want to prosecute people. They don't want to put people in prison. When they get to prison, they live better than anyone. For me, I'm kind of crazy. I would change the whole prison system. There would be no gyms. There would be no TV. There would be no phones. There'd be nothing. And you would be on a work program. So the guy who would be in a cell, you'd have 2-man cells. You'd have one that would go to work. So he would learn. And this is non-violent criminals, not violent criminals. Violent criminals, we should do other things to them. But non-violent criminals, you work them. And then when that guy comes back to his cell, the next guy leaves for his work shift, and you make it work. And you go and you teach them how to use saws and weld, and give them something when they get out. For someone like the person you're talking about, he should be chemically castrated, first of all. Any
There
kind
you
of
go.
assault against a child should be chemically castrated. That solves that part of mostly
Mm-hmm.
if it's a sexual assault, we get rid of that.
It is.
And secondly, if you're in for life, if you belong to the government, and we should make sure that your stay is not pleasurable the whole time you're there. You should rarely
And
see
they
other
should
human
work.
beings. Yeah.
They should be
Well,
working.
I
They
agree.
should be coming up with a business that they could do to where we're not putting out all this money to house them and take care of them.
Yeah. I mean, remember when they used to make license plates?
Yeah. Do they even do that anymore?
I'm not sure if they do or not anymore. I mean, that was a big thing. Like, they pretty much made license plates for the country. So like they'd make Californians, and then the state over would make Arizona license plates and things like that. I see where you're coming from, to where I think, look, this is somebody who is in the system. Do they really deserve half of the house that they really aren't paying for anymore?
No.
I would say no. I'm kind of bad on that, because I bought a house with someone when I was very young. She ended up leaving the state, and I kept paying the mortgage. But we live in California. So when she wanted to sell it, she sued me for that and made me sell it. So, and here's their thing. The court was like, you could have rented it for more than your mortgage. So it is what it is. So
wow.
She's probably in the same ballpark, where they would be like, look, and just imagine if she sells her house, gets out of it in this state, he gets half of that money put into an account where I think, well, I'm not sure how they would do it, because, there's laws against not putting that money into another property. So maybe there is something to that, where, again, lawyers would have to get involved, and I don't know law, so I don't want to say how things would be. But I don't think it's, you even said that this guy is asking to send him money.
And she was doing it. She was doing it monthly. And I was like, why are you doing this? You don't need to do this. But again, she's not wanting, she's scared. Like, she's worried that he's going to send people who are getting out of prison to her house, that they're going to come after her, that because he's threatened her. So she lives in this state of fear, which is not fair either. She didn't do what he did. And not only that, but he's very charismatic, and he was somebody that everybody knew. And it was crazy how people took his side in it. Like, because he was able to say, that wasn't me. I didn't do that. And people are believing him, including her family members. And I was like, shame on them. Shame on them that they would turn their back on her, but not him.
Yeah.
I don't know. The whole thing seems so absurd to me, how people are acting and treating the situation. I'm really struggling with trying to understand it.
I've actually heard that in many divorce cases, or how different family members will take the side of the spouse than the child. It's crazy to me. Like, I couldn't believe that. And this guy sounds like a narcissistic asshole. So, it's all about him. Everything's about this and everything. And he does have her. Unfortunately,
and I'm going to prove myself.
Well, he sounds like he's got a lot of years to prove it.
Yeah, right. God forbid they let this man out of prison.
Well, again,
God forbid.
I think she's in a tough spot, right? If you keep the house and you don't send money, you live in fear. If you sell the house, he gets half of it, but now you have a new life. You can run off, you can try to get away, you can hide, you can move to a new state. There is that part to where is there an escape? Yes. Less likely to have anything happen. And again, this is all on if you really want to go crazy and like leave the state and
see, and I wonder if she could even do that and get away, because her siblings are torn in this situation, and a few of her female family members are taking his side and advocating for him. So I don't think there's really anywhere that she could go where
there is. You just have to cut off everyone. You have to cut off everyone.
And why is that fair when he was the one that did that?
It's not, but what kind of life do you want to live? Do you want to live in fear all the time? Or do you want to start a new life and say, fuck everybody? I know that's not easy, but I think she's at a point where now, is there a child involved? Do they have a child together?
Not anymore. No. There were children involved when he got in trouble.
Right, but they don't have a child.
No.
Okay. So that actually helps the situation. So because legally, if they did, she couldn't leave the state if that child was under 18 without telling him, which is a whole other can of bullshit.
These rules that work against people that are doing the right thing need to stop. Like, these criminals have so many rights to things, so many.
Right.
It blows my mind.
I think it puts people that are violent in a much more commanding position, right? You know, he could say, all he has to do is threaten her that I'll just have someone come get you. As easy as that. Where you really can't run from that. And now what are you going to do? You always have your head over your shoulder and you're wondering if he's talking to other family members and they're telling them something. You almost have to start a new life, blank yourself out and, start from scratch. And I don't think that that's easy enough to do.
No. And she lost a lot of friends and a lot of family members through all this because, everybody picks a side, but they only see their side. I think one of her siblings just always had the hots for him. I don't know if that's true, but it kind of feels like that. And she's asked out of a lot of things because of that. And that sibling of hers, shame on her. Shame on her for being like that. First of all, the loyalty should always be to your family, unless your family is a total piece of shit, which this person is not. And so right there, I have an issue with the family member, but also to put her in a situation where she is continuously victimized by this man, like, shame on you. Shame on you being her sibling. And that wasn't the only one.
Right.
So I really struggle with this because the manipulation and the mind manipulation, well, just the mind fuck, really. It's so extreme. And they have nothing but time to do this. Meanwhile, she's working a couple jobs. She's trying to keep everything together. She's trying to take her kids into consideration and do what she's got to do. And man, what a struggle that for something she had nothing to do with.
Yeah. It's kind of a no-win situation because you've gotten with somebody who's a monster, right? They're using everything against you. You're in a place that you can't get out of, or they're threatening that if anything happens, and unless it's in writing, which is I doubt he's writing. Oh, maybe he is texting or however it is. I would take it to a lawyer and I would take it to the police and say, look, what can I do? But either way, if the family is already against you, you're fucked. Right? Because someone's going to snitch you out and talk to him. And obviously that's happening.
It is.
I wish that there was an answer for it, with the exception of run. You almost have to pick up your whole life and disappear. That's really the only way to do it. And it's not easy to do that because there's so many people involved. If she has children, now you have to pick up kids and take them to another state. And you have to get,
how is that even fair? That she has to leave, that she has to start over, that she has to take her family, that she's got to leave everything and everybody behind. And in a day and age of the internet the way it is, there's nowhere she could go and not be found.
You have to change everything. You have to change your name. You have to disappear. You have to literally flip a switch to be a new person. You have to change your hair color. You have to be on the run. Unfortunately, I think that there's ways of doing, look, we live in a big country. And if you moved to a big city, and I mean like San Antonio, Tampa, the smaller cities in a big state where there's still a shit ton of people. And I mean a lot. You go to, I'm going to guess that there's probably several million people who live in San Antonio. Right. So you can still blur in, but you're not in Dallas and you're not in Atlanta and you're not in Miami. You're not in places where, and again, unless you really want to disappear and then you start going to small towns, and if you can find work and get around it, it just sucks because you literally have to cut everyone off for the rest of your life. Can't call mom, can't call, or, you end up keeping the same phone number you have, right? That's for a local number, and just call every blue moon and say, I'm still alive.
Yeah.
That's it. Because she's
even that, she could be found super easy the second she pings that phone,
I mean, yes and no. I mean, you'd have to find someone who's tracking you like the law, but all you have to do really after that is do a missing persons report. Say this person's missing, and then you're screwed. So
I don't know. It just,
I just don't think it's fair.
It just doesn't seem feasible to me to do that.
It's not. It's you have to be willing to turn your whole life upside down, become a new person, and go your merry way. Unfortunately.
Absolutely.
And the way the prison system works is, you're right. It works in their favor. And it shouldn't, because they're criminals.
And this is where a liberal state just has gone overboard.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate that no one has heard in prison yet that he did anything to a child, because generally they take care of that.
Yeah, they should have killed him a long time ago already.
Yeah.
And they haven't. But like I said, he's very charismatic. So who knows? And who knows who's saving them? I did hear that he got beat up and stabbed multiple times, but he lived through it. Whether that's true or not is another story. Who knows? Again, he's not known for telling the truth. So who knows if that actually happened or not? And if it did, I'd like to see some proof. It would make me a little bit happy, to be honest with you. I kind of want to know that he's suffering. I really would like to know that he's suffering, because what he did was something that was beyond, what any human being should ever do. That just never, what he did never should have happened. And the fact that he's got more rights than she does just kills me. It kills me.
Yeah, it's just wrong, because you're looking out for the wrong people, And
absolutely.
And it sucks that the only way that she can probably find out more things is to pay into a lawyer to see what she can do.
Right. And all of that takes money. And she's already working 2 jobs to try to support herself and keep the lifestyle that they had and do what they're supposed to do. Like how does a woman get through all that? I just don't know.
Well, and it puts her behind the 8 ball everywhere. Let's say, and again, this is facetiously, but if let's say she wanted to meet somebody, now you're bringing somebody else into that. Try explaining that whole pile of shit to somebody. Most dudes would run, and fairly, that's not me trying to be mean, but I mean, a lot of people wouldn't deal with, hey, my ex is in prison and he threatens me all the time and I need to send him money and I can't sell my house.
Yeah.
That, I mean, talk about getting like, oh yeah, I got to jump out of this airplane because it's fucking flying and to the ground.
Yeah.
I get it. It's just not right that someone who is incarcerated, and I know we'll probably get shit for this, that they're treated much better than someone who's on the outside who didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
And again, the state laws when it comes to, property rights, I think is kind of a bizarre thing. But again, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. It absolutely is.
And here's the other thing.
Go ahead.
Even if she wanted to sell it, let's say she wanted to sell it, he can say no.
Yeah. Yep.
The only thing that she has going for her, if she wanted to just absolutely ruin her credit, is walk away.
Yeah.
And it would screw him too, because then he'd have a foreclosure against him as well, and he'd get no money out of it.
That's a bit harsh on her end to have to go through that after all these years of pain and struggle and trying to make it right. I would have a hard time. I would have a hard time with giving that up like that.
But here's the thing. What are you going to get out of it? With the exception of maybe a low payment. And maybe that's the silver lining in this. This guy is, unless he dies in prison, right? He's going to work against you forever.
Yeah. And
he's going to continue to say, I don't want to sell it when you want to. And if he says, I want to sell it, you can say no. And then he threatens you. This is a vicious circle of just going back and back and back. So
it totally is.
The one way out of it, again, I mean, I would just save up a shit ton of money and let it go into foreclosure. And then when it goes into foreclosure, I would call the loan company and say, can I do cash for keys? They'll give you like $4,000 or $5,000. You give them the keys so you can walk away, sign that shit over, say the guy who owns it with me is in prison. How am I going to get it signed and bail out of that shit? But that's the only way. And again, there's repercussions that come with that. Now you have foreclosure. You can't buy a house. There's things that come with it, but there is a parachute to get away from that side of that. But then like we talked about earlier, you have to be willing to cut ties with every single thing you know in your life.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like her family's in too tight with this guy and they'll rat her out.
Mm-hmm. I believe so.
Which is really sad. I mean, family's a weird thing. Family will turn on you in a second. I have another friend who, for the longest time, her mother took her ex-husband's side for the longest time. And I don't get it. Like, even if you do agree with something that the ex-husband says or ex-wife says, like, that's your kid. And you should at least go, hey, let's talk more about the story or whatever it was. There was, to me, I don't know. I just think that it's odd. And we're talking about an assault on someone. This isn't like, oh, we fell out of love. This is, a crime against a child. Again, I would have, as soon as I'd have found out, I'd have shot him. I'd have been in prison too.
And it was family members.
Yeah.
That he did this to.
I would have. Yeah. Do you know what drawn and quartering is? In the old days, it's called drawn and quartered.
No.
In the old days, it was a way of getting rid of people, and they would tie arms and legs to horses, and then they'd yell "yah" at the same time, and they'd run away from each other, and they'd basically quarter you into 4 different pieces.
Nice.
And yeah, and I'm telling you that changed a lot of people's attitudes about doing crime. We're just too easy.
I would think about it. What's that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think most human beings don't do crime because they don't want to go to prison.
Exactly.
We've made prison cushy.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's so many gangs in prison that they run the prisons instead of the other way around.
Right.
So now if you shoot someone and you go to prison, you're patted on the back by the rest of the people who are there. We need to go back to chain gangs and look, the first guy that runs and tries to get over the fence, you just get rid of him.
Yeah.
You make prison hard, not easy.
Absolutely.
It's, like I said,
and it
no
should
more
be
gyms.
Work. Like we shouldn't, if the government's so worried about all the money that we're putting into the prisons, just quit doing it. Quit doing it. Let them work and let them build their own prison. And if they want TVs and they want all this other bullshit in it, then they should work for it. There should be a way that they have to work for every freaking thing. It shouldn't be coming out of any of the taxpayers' money. It should be completely self-contained. And there's so many people that are talented enough that they could build it. They could, it needs to be managed, obviously, but it should definitely not be our money paying for their recreation, for sure.
Right. I just think that you shouldn't have, phones or TVs or, there's no reason for you to do that. You're supposed to go to prison because it's shitty and it's a bad place to be, not some place that is okay to hang out at. Like, oh, I'm just going to watch Netflix tonight. No, dude, you're going to sit in a dark cell with nothing. Yeah. And you're going to like it because you don't have a choice. This isn't, you made the choice to do something and now you're here. It's not the other way around. We didn't put you there just for shits and giggles. You did something horrible. So I just think that we need to reform the prison system on a lot of levels. I'm not a big fan of private prisons where, private companies or private people are building them. I think that there's a problem with that because when you have private prisons, you need people to put in them. So that's a problem. On the government side, I think, look, the government should take care of the facilities, but it should be done through tax money because I think that's the only way you're going to be able to do it. But you have to make it to where people don't want to come back. And then on the flip side, you have to do minor crimes. Don't go to prison and make more prisoners. I always tell people this, I lived out in the Ventura County area for a long time. And if you've ever driven on the 101 and you watched people pick fruit and vegetables on the side of the freeway, that's what we should do to prisoners that are low crime prisoners. How you instead of going to prison, you have to go to Oxnard and pick strawberries. And I will tell you, they will not commit crimes again because that is hard labor and hard work.
Absolutely.
And that, but you're not making criminals. You're just making people who don't want to pick fruit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's nothing bad that comes from it.
Right.
With the exception of the guy, when he leaves, he's going, I am never doing this shit ever again because I am not picking lettuce and Oxnard. and it's not a difficult thing. I wish I had an answer for your friend's problem, with the exception of bailing, because unfortunately it seems that she's in that umbrella where she really can't escape, and she can't afford a lawyer to find out what her rights are to, this guy with I'm assuming that he's texting her. That would be the assumption.
He writes letters. I know that for a fact.
Oh, even better.
Yeah.
I would take those to the law, mostly if there's like legitimate threats. And go, look, I can't live like this. This person is sending me threatening letters. What do I do? But once she does that, she opens up a bigger can of worms.
I do believe that once you're in prison for things like this, it should make it very easy for your spouse to get rid of you. If your spouse wants to stay with you, that's fine too. Let them, stay with them. Great. Don't worry about it. But the ones that don't want to put a stamp on their bullshit should really have an easy way of getting rid of that sort of problem in their life. And being that she's victimized, where is her rights? Where is her support? Where is her, there should be things in place that would help her, not just, hey, good luck to you, because he's an asshole and he's probably going to come after you at some point, like he's done in the past to other people that he hasn't done his time for yet. But we'll see how that goes. He's just not a good person. And she is such a, nobody's perfect in any situation. Everybody does their thing. But as far as
Correct.
people go, she's a really good person, and she's trying to keep her family together, and she's trying to live the right way and be, loving and caring. And she just doesn't have what she even needs to have that, because he is so caught up in making sure that, she stays suppressed. I just, I feel for her.
Yeah. And I know several people like this. We've talked about it in any kind of relationship, the narcissistic behavior that, and again, mostly men. I don't want to say that there's not narcissistic women, because I think that there are. But I think they manipulate a different way. Men try to manipulate with power and force. And I think women try to manipulate with beauty. Right? Okay. You're not going to get anyone prettier than me. You're not going to do this. And on the flip side, it's, you're not going to get a better man than me. But most of these men are fucking dirtbags that don't do things. They believe there's something, and they've manipulated so much that in the beginning, the person they're with believes that's who they are. And then they show their colors and it's too late. And now you're caught in this, undertow that's taking you under every single time. And you're living in fear or living in dog shit, and you don't know how to get out of it. And she's in that position, and the guy's not even in the house. It's like,
no, and his cheating ways too go way back. And she loved him and she believed him just like you should. You shouldn't get together with a person and already think that they're going to lie to you. You need to have trust and work at that. And, in order to have a good relationship. So she did exactly what she was supposed to do, but he didn't do it at all. And I just feel like, again, how many ways does a person need to be victimized by somebody who's just a shitty person. So I don't know, I'm kind of tired of hearing about people, rights of prisoners or people that have done heinous acts to people. Like, it never should have been like that ever. And I don't know. I'm really struggling with seeing that and understanding. I don't know. I'm just having a really hard time understanding how that's okay and how there's nothing she could do.
Yeah, I think we're at a point now where we need to look at the law that actually helps the right people and not the wrong people. Right?
Right.
Where, this poor young lady has already gone through enough shit. And now you have to get a letter every month from some shithead in a cell telling you that he needs more money. Maybe you need to work harder, or you need to find something else to make sure that I get this, put money on my books. You can't do this, whatever it is. She's still being manipulated by someone who's not even in the same household because of fear. And like you said, there's other people at play, right? If she says the wrong thing out loud to the wrong person, it's going to get back to him. And now here it comes right back around again, where he's like, why'd you say this shit? And blah, blah, blah. And you can't live like that. You can't live, either under the thumb of somebody or in quicksand of because of somebody. And those are the two things that she's under the thumb because he's doing all this shit, and she's in quicksand because anything that she says or goes around, she's sinking into it because obviously shit's getting back to him because there's manipulative family members that aren't helping the situation.
There are.
So I don't know.
He's already ruined his own family by the things that he's done. And now he ruined hers too. And I don't know. Because
it's all about him.
Yes. I believe that prisoners that do things of a certain nature should be just worked to the bone. Just work them to death. Like, they're in there for the rest of their lives. They're in the best shape they are. Like, let's put them to work. Come on, start paying. If you want this house, if you think you deserve it, you should be making half of everything. You should be working your ass off, have a job in the prison, and send your money to her. If that's what you want, then do your part, period. This right. Whole liberal world that we live into, where victimizers get to victimize people over and over and over again, but they're human beings and they have rights. Nah, fuck that. No, they should be paying restitution for all the crappy things they did.
Yeah, you've given up your rights when you're sentenced to 25 to 50 years in prison. I'm sorry. And if you're an older person, then you're not making it out. You belong to you belong to the system now. Sorry. And the victims in those cases need to be able to continue to live without the fear of that person continuously, on them.
Getting over on you.
Yeah.
And he's helping because he's reading all the time. So now he says he's legally helping other people get out of their prison sentences and all this crap. And I'm just like, oh my God, why should he even have a book? Like, the people that go to prison, they don't get rehabbed. They don't. So why are we giving them all these things so that they have all these rights?
Yeah,
I don't
generally you're correct. I think the statistically speaking says that no, you're not rehabbed. Matter of fact, you come out worse.
No. Yeah, because now you know how to work the system, and you've got a plethora of criminals that'll tell you their little ins and outs of it.
Oh yeah,
good times.
Well, and then when you get out, you have people who are associated with them who now will help you become a bigger criminal.
Yeah. And that's her fear. If she gets a text or she gets a phone call or she gets somebody coming to the door, her initial instinct is, oh my God, is this it? Is this the person that's going to torture me and do all the things that he has said or
insinuated,
not blatantly said, but what's the word I'm looking for?
Insinuated.
Threatened her with. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Beyond frustrated with this. I think that if I was in the situation that she was in, I'd want him dead. I'm like, let's look at how we could make this happen, because she's never going to be able to live. And the torture that he put the kids through, that she has to now watch and feel guilt towards, because she trusted him in her world, and because of it, this crappy stuff happened, and she wasn't able to take care of her kids the way that she would have liked to. She had no idea, but she did things the right way. You're supposed to trust your mate. You're supposed to believe in the good. You're supposed to look and say, yeah, he's a solid person, and go with that. Not find out years and years later that he's been manipulating her and the situation and life the whole time.
Right.
It's amazing.
I mean, look, I think, that kind of topic is a whole other situation where, finding out about your mate, or you're right. Trust is a hard thing. And none of us know what we're getting into until we're in it. And some of it's a year in, some of it's 10 years in, and you don't know the person you're with. I mean, we've seen it a million times where, people have found out that their mates are serial killers.
Yeah.
Right. So,
yeah.
I think in this case, she needs to decide what she wants to do in life. Because, like I said, if you take these letters where there's threatening talk or to someone, you're opening up a bigger can, because now he's making threats from prison, and that's a whole other issue. Your family is against you, the way it sounds, even though there's probably some that are with her. It sounds like you can't say anything out loud. My thing is disappear, but it's not that easy.
And then who do you trust after that? Who took his side? Who took her side? When she came to me to do her hair, she didn't really say, but I felt like she was kind of feeling me out to see what side I had taken or what my beliefs were in that whole situation. And I basically told her, I said, dude, he's there, you're here. That's all I need to know. The line's been drawn. There's no sticking up for somebody that did what he did. There's no sticking up for that. There's no way. And she's such a sweetheart. What's that?
I said someone found him guilty.
Oh, yeah.
Someone found him guilty.
He was found guilty. And then he, if I'm not mistaken, he had to have another trial because more came out.
Right.
So I don't know. I think we got to put this guy out in the woods and let the animals get to him. That's what I think.
Yeah. He needs to go on a slip and slide into a wood chipper.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. I used to think that. Yeah, that was a good one. I used to think that when people hurt children sexually, that they should be turned over to the family that they did what they did to, and let them put the damn weenie in a vise, tighten it real tight, give them a plastic knife, and then light the garage on fire and say, if you want out, cut it off. That's how you're going to get out of this. But, maybe that's a little barbaric for today. But
yeah,
I'm sorry. But if somebody did that to my kid, you bet your ass that's what I would be after.
Oh, I would do horrible things. Horrendous. They would find me in a garage with a soldering iron and, hacking fingers off and cauterizing wounds and making sure. Yeah, I would go to prison for a long time, but my kid would know I cared.
and who is right and who is wrong in that situation, because that's a whole nother. Now we're being the perpetrator. We're victimizing somebody. So where does it end? But at the same time, where is the support for the countless victims that have to put up with all the shit that they've had done to them, whether it be the victims that were hurt in this situation, or the wife that still has to put up with all of his bullshit? Because they're all victims, if you ask me. They're all being hurt in ways that, they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So.
And again, we're letting him manipulate people from a place he should have no contact with humans.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
All right. Well,
what can you do?
That's always a fun show. I hope
my rant went on way too long today.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
I hope things work out for her and things get into place. I really wish, that things could be better.
Me too.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon, tides will start to turn, because they need to. They really do.
I think, some people deserve a break.
Yes.
I really hope she gets it.
Me too. Too, because she's a good person and she deserves it. And she didn't deserve any of this. And see, that's the thing that makes me mad too, was now she doesn't trust herself. Now she doesn't know if she ever wants to be with a man again, because she doesn't know what the next one's going to be like. And she's second guessing her own heart and her own judgment. And she didn't have bad judgment. She just got caught up with somebody that was a big fucking liar.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Let's hope for the best. Any last words before we cut off for the week?
No, just I don't know what to say on that. Just support the victims and not the perpetrators. I guess that would be a good thing to say. Because if you're really the type of person that you think you are in your heart, you would not support this kind of bullshit going on. And especially if it's your family member.
Yep. I'll go with that.
So that's it.
Make sure to check us out on the old social medias, the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube Music, Amazon, Spotify, and Apple. Until next week, it's an opinion show. Don't get it twisted. Don't get mad at us. And we'll see you in a week.
Get mad.
As always, it's a pleasure. We will talk to you later. Bye.
See ya.
Don't be this